What's up YouTube? Jeff back again from dopetechdaily.com, and today I finally got one in hand, the Huawei P20 Pro. Now a lot of people have already done unboxings of this phone, so I want to start off my first video coverage of the P20 Pro with my first 10 things video. These are the first 10 things I recommend you do if you pick up a new Huawei P20 Pro, and a lot of these things will also apply to the smaller Huawei P20. As usual, I have a little Google Keep document here that has the first 10 things that I recommend. I'll drop a link below to the Google Drive document if you want to check out the text list. So the first thing is one that I always go with when I do these type of videos, and that is setting up a fingerprint or face unlock method so that you have a secure lock screen. You can do that by navigating to the settings and then scrolling down to security. You can see right here, fingerprint ID. If you want to set that up, you'll need a pattern or a pin. I've already set up my fingerprint ID right there. I would recommend you set up multiple fingerprints. I'm actually using private space, which is another great feature of the P20 Pro, which we'll talk about in a bit. You can set up as many fingerprints as you want right there by hitting new fingerprint. Fingerprint recognition here, if you tap on that, you can also go through and make sure that it's recognizing things properly. The other place that you can set up the face unlock is another secure lock method. Again, you'll need to enter your pattern or pen to use face unlock as well. You can walk through and set this up if that's your preferred method of security. Now, I personally don't like face unlock. I find that using my prescription glasses, most of the face methods are just less reliable than the fingerprint sensor, so I choose to go with the fingerprint sensor, but if you like face unlock, it is there and is another possible secure lock screen method to use. So once you set up your secure lock screen, the next thing you'll want to do are a couple of different options that are in the home screen settings. So if you go into the home screen settings, go to display, and you'll notice home screen style. So by default, the Huawei P20 and P20 Pro come with the standard style home screen where all the apps are shown on the home screen. That's kind of like an iPhone setup. You can switch to a more traditional Android setup by going to the drawer setup right here. That's what I'm running right now. You've got yourself an app drawer button right there, and you can get in and out and see your app list here in a vertical scrolling list. Now, one thing I don't like is that they don't have the swipe up pixel style app drawer, which most Android manufacturers are going to. Not sure why Huawei has decided not to adopt that, but they haven't. But you can switch to a traditional Android app drawer. The next thing also in display settings is to choose whether or not you want to have the notch. So obviously you guys can see right now I do have the notch enabled, a little cut out the top for the camera, but you can actually choose to hide that if you want. Go back to settings and then back into the display options. You'll see notch right there. Go ahead and tap on it. The default is for the notch to be enabled, which is what I have right now. But if you would like to hide the notch, you can choose that option. And then when you go back, you'll see that they just black out the area around the camera cutout so that it doesn't appear to have that notch look anymore at the top. So if the notch is something that really bothers you in a personal way, you can get rid of it. I am going to run the default myself just because in reviewing the phone, I kind of want to review it the way that Huawei originally envisioned things to run out of the box. But it's definitely a decision that you'll want to make. If you're paying so much for the phone and you don't like the notch, you can go ahead and get rid of it. The next thing is the full screen display. Once again, also in the display settings. There are going to be some apps that may not be optimized for use with the full extra tall screen display. You can choose to expand those so that they do fill the entire screen. Here you'll see a list of the apps that may not be optimized. One of the biggest ones I've noticed is YouTube Studio. Google still has not optimized that app, which just lets me see my YouTube statistics. There really aren't very many others. The Play Store and Google Play Movies and TV. So you can go ahead and hit that. That way when you do open these apps, that they're going to run in full screen mode and take advantage of the extra tall aspect ratio. You may or may not like that. I think I enjoy it because it keeps it a more uniform look for the entire interface as I navigate through all of my apps. The next thing is to choose a navigation system that works for you. You guys probably noticed throughout the video I don't have the on-screen navigation buttons here, the soft keys. So I've actually been using the off-screen navigation system. The way you can choose that is by going into Settings and then navigate to System. You'll notice right here System Navigation, and you actually have a number of options with which to choose. You can use the off-screen navigation buttons, which is what I'm using. If you tap the fingerprint sensor, it'll take you back one screen. Holding it down will take you to the home screen. Swiping to the left or the right will get you into your recent apps. It's kind of nice if you want to save screen real estate. You can also choose an on-screen navigation key, which has a little bar at the bottom, kind of looks like the iPhone 10. or the virtual navigation bar that you're used to, which is a very, very common thing to have on Android, those soft keys. Or you can also have this navigation dock on. Additionally, you can turn that off and on. This basically puts a little bar here that you can move around, and it also has the same gestures as the ones that I'm using on the fingerprint sensor at the bottom. I kind of don't like having this here because with the fingerprint sensor gestures, you've already got everything taken care of and you don't need to take up this extra screen real estate. So you probably want to try each of these out and see what works best for you. I'm testing out the off-screen navigation buttons just to see if I can get used to them, since it seems like gesture-based navigation is coming to Android. I talked about that in my last video about Android P. The next thing is notification management. So notification management, if you go into settings and then go to notifications, of course, apps and notifications, there's a couple of things that you can do in here. The first one is notifications and the status bar. You can choose to have the notifications turn on your screen if you want that. I don't really like that particular option. Choose to have your notification light on or off. Notification method, you can change that from icons, numbers, or none, so whichever that you prefer. You can also choose to have the battery percentage in your notification shade up here. I kind of like to have the battery percentage inside the battery icon, so I'll go ahead and turn that on. Then you can also go into notification management and choose which apps are going to allow notifications. Now, you can also set this separately for the lock screen. It's a little bit hidden. You tap on these three dots, go into lock screen notifications, and it is set to display all notifications by default, which is actually a change because in the past, Huawei has set it to not display notifications, but you can adjust that. So if you want to turn off notifications, you can dig into the settings here and change it. I just wish they wouldn't put it so far in the settings so that people might not be able to find it. The next thing is your battery and power management settings. So here we're going to navigate back to the settings menu, the main settings menu, go into battery. There's a number of things here that you can sort of tweak. You can turn on power saving or ultra power saving mode if you want. Screen resolution does come set to the highest resolution, which is FHD Plus by default, 2240 by 1080. You can lower that to HD Plus if you want, or also set smart resolution, which will let you automatically lower the resolution to save battery life. App launch, which is the one you'll probably want to take the look at sort of the most, and that is whenever this is enabled, it identifies your apps, scenarios, and sort of restricts auto launch uses of the apps. So I'm turning it on right now in my review, but for certain apps you might want to turn this off if things in the background are supposed to be getting continually updated, like you have a social media app or something. I'll see how it goes, but I'm going to leave these on for now and see if it really improves battery life, but it's definitely something to look at when you do get the device. The other thing is the dark mode, and this I love. You guys can see I'm running the dark mode, dark interface colors right here. That turns the entire settings menu to this beautiful dark mode, and I really love that Huawei offered this option. It now matches their drop-down quick settings shade and makes everything look very uniform, so kudos to them for putting that in the settings. The final thing is battery percentage. Again, you can choose to not show it, put it next to the icon or in the icon depending on your preference. The next thing is private space. Private space is probably one of the coolest features of the Huawei phones that differentiate it from other phones. So private space can be found in security and privacy. And what this actually does is it allows you to separate a user account that's completely private, so a user account that you can log into separate from your main account if you have sensitive materials or maybe you share a phone with someone and you don't want them to necessarily get into some of your private things. You can basically set up two fingerprints, one for your main account, one for your private account. And the way it works is if you go to the home screen, you log in with your main fingerprint, it'll take you into your main account. You can notice I have my main wallpaper, my setup there. You'll notice if I use my other thumb here, it's going to take me into my private space account. My private space account actually has a different wallpaper. This is the stock wallpaper and all of the stock settings. So you can see it's completely different from my main account that I have on the phone. You could store different apps here, photos, music, whatever you want. And when you're ready to go back to the main account, just use your main fingerprint, which for me is my other thumb. And it does take a second to switch over, but it'll log you back into the main account. This is a great feature which I imagine a lot of people will use for various purposes, but if you're someone who needs it, then it's definitely a great thing to have on your device. The next thing is to remove any bloatware on the phone. So I imported this phone from overseas, so I don't know exactly what the country of origin was, but there is quite a bit of bloatware on the phone. I've got a lot of games that they installed by default, Asphalt Nitro, Dragon Mania, Kingdoms, Puzzle Pets, Spider-Man Ultimate Power. All of these things can be completely uninstalled, so just drag them up and uninstall them if you don't want them. These games take up significant space. There's also some apps like Booking.com, which I'm not going to use, that can also be uninstalled. So if you have a device or you bought from a carrier or from a country where there's pre-installed apps, make sure you go ahead and delete those because they're taking up space on your device. And if you're not going to use them, you don't want them to take up those resources. The final thing is to grab yourself a custom wallpaper. Now the Huawei P20 and P20 Pro do come with a lot of nice wallpapers out of the box, but I personally like to grab a custom wallpaper from either Backdrops or one of my new favorite wallpaper apps, which is Wally. Now the backdrop that I'm using right now actually comes from Wally. I'll show you guys where it is. If you navigate to Popular, the current wallpaper that I'm using is right there. You can see the background that I have on the device. And I'll drop a link below to this if you want to check it out. So there's a lot of great wallpaper apps for Android, but Backdrops and Wally are two that I find have some really nice material design and also nature wallpapers that I really enjoy. Anyway, guys, that's my overview of the first 10 things to do with your Huawei P20 Pro. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification icon so I can make future videos like this. Find me at dopetechdaily.com, Google+, Instagram, and Twitter. The link's in the description. Also find me writing over at gadgethacks.com where I write about Android. I appreciate you guys checking it out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.